that Lord Narsimha appears for only one reason. There is only one specific function for which Lord Narsimha appears. Is to give joy to his purest devotee, Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Alad. Ahlad means to bring great joy, bliss in the heart of Prahlad Maharaj. Krishna speaks in Bhagavad Gita, Paritranai Sadhuna. That is the first principle. That is Prahlad Aladadahi. And then Vinashaya Cha Dushkritam. That is Hiranyakashipurva Chaha. Shilatankhana Kala. So we will recite one prayer. Last many years we have been reciting this prayer. I hope you all have memorized. Ugram Vira Mahavishnu Jwalantam Sarvato Mukham Narsingham Bhishanam Bhadram Nityor Mrityur Namamiyam. So just in a moment I will open the relevant chapter from Srimad Bhagavatam and we will share the discussion. Very interesting. Prahlad Maharaj gives discourse to his batchmates, those who are all non-devotees. So in a way, Srila Prabhupada has many similarities with Prahlad Maharaj. How? Because Srila Prabhupada also went to the West to preach the message of Krishna consciousness. So the Paschatya Desh is compared to a place which is completely inundated with non-devotees. There are hardly any devotees. There were no devotees. So they were all in the demoniac way of living. But single-handedly Srila Prabhupada preached the message of Supreme Lord. And what was the impact? That whoever came in contact with Srila Prabhupada, whoever got his transcendental touch, they all transformed to become devotee. कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, मैं रोज चार्ज करता हूँ इससे. कोई बात नहीं, रिलैक्स बैठो. The seventh chapter, the seventh canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is called the Science of God. And this canto predominantly speaks about the glories of Prahlad Maharaj. If you see from 7.2, where the chapter entitled says Hiranyakashipu, the king of demons, then Hiranyakashipu plans to become immortal. The fourth chapter is Hiranyakashipu terrorizes the universe. So 3 chapters is dedicated on Hiranyakashipu. And then the 5th chapter talks about Prahlad Maharaj, the saintly son of Hiranyakashipu, and Prahlad instructs his demoniac schoolmates. What Prahlad learned in the womb, Lord Narsimha slays the king of the demon, and Prahlad pacifies Lord Narsimha with prayers. And the 10th chapter talks about the glories of Prahlad Maharaj, the best among exalted devotees. So we will try to see some of the verses from the very, very powerful instructions of Prahlad Maharaj. He is just 5. What Shastra says, Kumar Acharit Pragya, that from the age of 5 one should begin his spiritual life. But Prahlad Maharaj perfected at the age of 5. And what is the process that he subscribed to? How he became such a pure devotee? In which Gurukul did Prahlad Maharaj go? At the age of 5 he perfected the spiritual perfection, the spiritual knowledge. Anyone? What process did he follow? Quickly, Prabhu, please speak so that we can continue. Yes, Suman. Are you able to hear me?
Hearing.
Yes. He was in the womb of his mother Kayadu. See the situation. Hiranyakashipu was performing very, very severe austerity. Austerity to be able to receive such wounds which can make him immortal. No one will be able to contest with him. Everyone will be crushed by his power. So he was trying to seek such power. So he was performing such severe austerity. And the demigods, they were so much terrorized that they were so harassed by Hiranyakashipu. And when they came to know that Hiranyakashipu's wife, what is the name of Hiranyakashipu's wife? Unmute and speak. Priyanka, Sonika.
Kayadu, Prabhuji.
Kayadu, yes, thank you. Kayadu. She was being forcibly dragged by the demigods and they wanted to abort the child in her womb. And Narad Muni came to the rescue. Narad Muni appears to that scene and he stops the demigods and tells them that a great devotee is there in the womb. And Narad Muni, he takes Kayadu in her own Gurukul and then Narad Muni speaks about this spiritual knowledge. So when Narad Muni used to speak, Kayadu was very much, she was in anxiety. She was always thinking about her husband, Hiranyakashipu. That what is his fate? How is he doing? Whether he is not being, killed by the demigods. So she was not able to hear actually. She did not have any spiritual perfection. And Prahlad Maharaj, who was in the womb, he was so attentively hearing that he achieved all perfection. And just imagine, our Shastras speak that the most terrible suffering state is of birth. Two of these states, both. Either it is birth or it is death. When the soul experiences the maximum suffering. So while he was in that very severe suffering state, still Prahlad Maharaj was able to give such attention that just by hearing he would be able to receive the knowledge. So for anyone to become perfect in spiritual realization, there is no bar, there is no limitation. And one of the principal personalities is Prahlad Maharaj. Even in the most difficult situation, he could receive knowledge. So let us see what. So Prahlad Maharaj, when he was born, he received this knowledge before birth. And when in the kingdom of Hiranyakashipu, everyone is a demon. Because all the demigods, they have fled away. All the regions and the area, the heavenly planets of the demigods have been conquered by Hiranyakashipu. And all the demigods, they have left, they have fled to save their life. So in this scenario, let us see what Sri Prahlad Maharaj, how he teaches his schoolmates, his batchmates, those who are all non-devotees. So this chapter is entitled, this is the 6th chapter, which says Prahlad instructs his demonic schoolmates. This is the first verse, Sri Prahlad Uvacha Kaumara Acharet Pragya Dharmam Bhagavatam Iha Durlabham Manusham Janma Tadapi Adhruvam Arthadam. Okay, let us have the Bangla recitation first and then we will continue. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Prashyata Deshatarine. So the first instruction Prahlad Maharaj is giving is to his school friends, to his demonic friends. He says, Prahlada Uvacha Kaumara Charit Pragno Dharman Bhagavatam Iha Durlabham Manusham Janma Tadapi Adruvam Arthadam. So he says Kaumara. There are 4 stages. In Krishna Lila there are 3 stages, and in Chaitanya Lila there are 4 stages. The first stage is called the Kaumara. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, what he says, Dehino asmin yatha dehi Kaumaram Yoganam Jara. So from age 1 to 5 or 0 to 5 is called Kaumara. And then from 6 to 10 is called Pauganda. Pauganda Lila. So Krishna in Vrindavan, he was performing the Pauganda Lila. Then, what is the next? It is called the Kaishor Lila, which is from 11 to 15. So Krishna is Nitya Kishore. He never goes beyond the Kaishor age. And the 4th one is the Yavana or Yuvavastha. That is from 16 onwards. So Prahlad Maharaj is saying that Kaumara Acharit Pragno. So Kaumara means the age of, tender age of 0 to 5. Please be very clear. It is not that after 5. It is Kaumara which is from 0 to 5. That means practically he is saying since birth. So since birth, what should one be doing? Acharit. Kaumara, from the age of birth, it should be Acharit, you should practice. What? This dharma. Which dharma? Bhagavatam dharma. Dharma of performing devotional service. We see that in the life of Srila Prabhupada. Since his very early childhood, Prabhupada was given the deities by his father, Sri Gaur Mohan Dev, to worship. So in our Krishna conscious life, those who are in married life, those who are not brahmacharis or sannyasis. So in their life, since the birth of the child, he should be taught what he should practice, the dharma of performing devotional service. Why is it so? Because Prahlad Maharaj, He is giving a very deeper meaning. He is saying, Durlabham Manusham Janma. That this human form of life is achieved very rarely. Why? Because there are 8,400,000 species of life. And what is the possibility of receiving human form of life is rare. So then he says, Tadapi, that is why, for that purpose, in this impermanent temporary life, adhruma. Dhruma means which is fixed. Jatasi dhruvor mrityu, dhruvor janma mritasya. So one who has taken birth, there is no confirmation that he is going to live for 100 years or 50 years. One can die any moment because the life is impermanent. So he says that what is full of meaning or what is of value, arthadam, is to practice the Bhagavatam Dharma. So from when one should commence to practice the Bhagavad Dharma? Practically from the date of birth. This is what is the advice of Prahlad Maharaj. So we can see how late we are. And in fact, when I see I am such a late beginner. Those who are young, those who have started early, they have the advantage. But the best is to begin from birth. So Prahlad Maharaj said, one who is sufficiently intelligent, use the word, see the words of Srila Prabhupada. It is not possible for anyone and everyone. Because it is not possible for anyone and everyone to be sufficiently intelligent. I met one lady today, young lady. She came with her father. And she was being introduced to some of our devotees today. So she said that I observed that why very educated people only come in ISKCON. This is the reason. One who is sufficiently intelligent should use the human form of body from the very beginning of life. Here it is. Not from, most of us have the understanding of Kaumar Acharit Pragyo is from the age of 5. We should go to Gurukul and practice the path of bhakti. No. From the day one we are born. So that samskar should go. And whatever the child gets early in his life, in his childhood, or in his babyhood, or since his birthhood, the impact is very deep. Whether he goes to a public school or not, it does not matter. It will not change his fate. But whether he practices bhakti or not, this is most important. So, Prahlad Maharaj is saying, in other words, from the tender age of childhood to practice the activities of devotional service, giving up all other engagement. If we say that we want to celebrate Narsingha Chaturdasi and we want to receive the blessings of Narsingh Dev, here is the blessing of Narsingh Dev in the form of advice coming from Prahlad Maharaj. So the child should be trained in devotional service, giving up all other engagements. Not that his other engagements are so heavy that he has no child has no time to perform devotional service. And then he further says the human body is most rarely achieved. I see now many devotees that child they don't come to the temple. And what they do? They go out to learn guitar. Not to learn sitar. For what? This is not what our Acharya was saying. This is not what the Shastra is saying. Very clearly, to practice the activities of devotional service, giving up all other engagements. Because the human body is most rarely achieved, and although temporarily like other bodies, it is meaningful. It is arthadam. Artha means which has value and which has meaning both. Artha means the value. It is meaningful because in human life one can perform devotional service. And then Prabhupada says, even a slight amount of sincere devotional service, very, very, very powerful statement. Even a slight amount of sincere devotional service can give one complete perfection. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Swalpam apiyasya dharmasya. So this sincere devotional service is to be taught to the child since his birth. For those who have child, they should develop the practice of bringing the child to the temple to be giving him the devotional association, so that in his heart there can be a desire and there can be some attraction to perform devotional service. Let us see what Srila Prabhupada explains. The whole purpose of Vedic civilization and of reading the Vedas is to attain the perfect stage of devotional service in the human form of life. In the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, sorry, the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is most confidential knowledge, Prabhupada writes in one of the purport, I think it is in Manmana Bhavamat Bhatto, that most confidential knowledge culminates in devotional service. What culmination means? The summit, the epitome, the perfection. This is what Srila Prabhupada is saying. That the Vedic civilization of reading the Vedas is to attain perfect stage of devotional service in the human form of life. So the perfection of human life is to perform devotional service, is to read, hear, chant, and perform services. According to the Vedic system, therefore, from the very beginning of the brahmacharya system, from the very beginning of the life, the brahmacharya system is introduced, so that from one's very childhood, from the age of 5, one can practice modifying one's human activity. So from the age of 5, one has to go to the Gurukul. And what he has to practice? Brahmacharya. So those who have not practiced Brahmacharya, they should come to the ashram and spend at least how many months? 3 months. Minimum is 6. At least get to know what it is, what flavor it has, what is so special about it, why so much Shastras are advocating it. From the age of 5, one can practice modifying. Prabhupada is using the word modifying one's human activity. So, this practice will require lot of training, entire year, lifetime of training. Why? Because one has to modify, one has to change, one has to incorporate a complete change, so as to engage perfectly in devotional service. So, of course, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 2:40, Swalpam api yasya dharmasya rahite mahatoya. So, even after, before going to Grasta ashram, one should come and stay in Brahmachari ashram. My teachers have always advocated that, most of the students did that. But in our group, I yet to see anyone. It is not so that if you come to the Brahmachari ashram, you will not be fed, or you will not get opportunity to sleep. That is not so. We must invest, whether it is Brahmachari or Brahmacharini. We don't have the setup of Brahmacharini ashram, unfortunately. But in Prabhupada's time, there used to be. It's very important to live life and to be able to see from very close, to have an experience of what the life is, which is engaged in devotional service. So even a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. Modern civilization, not referring to the verdicts of Vedic literature, is so cruel. See Prabhupada's compassion. Prabhupada is crying. What is he saying? Modern civilization, not referring to the verdicts of Vedic literature, is so cruel to the members of human society that instead of teaching children to become brahmachari, it teaches mothers to kill their children even in the womb, on the plea of curbing the increase of population. And if by chance a child is saved, he is educated only for self-gratification. This is Prabhupada's concern. This is actually Prahlad Maharaj's concern. This is the concern of all the great Mahajans, of all the great devotees, of every devotee actually. That what is the concern? That the present population is becoming demoniac, becoming completely atheistic. Why? Because the education which is being now imparted to them is, Prabhupada is saying, it is cruel. Why it is cruel? Because it curbs the natural propensity of the soul to perform devotional service. How? By propelling the demoniac propensity of sense gratification. Gradually, throughout the entire world, human society is losing interest in the perfection of life. What is the perfection of life? Is performing of devotional service. Indeed, men are living like cats and dogs. So if there is no devotional service, if there is no varnashram, if there is no value, then what is this society? It is compared to the human society, how it is distinct from the animal society by following dharma vihina pashu bhi samana. Ahar nidra bhay nasanam. So if one is engaged in this four propensities of eating, sleeping, mating, and depending, and one is not observing the religious principles, is not performing, is not engaged in devotional service, that society is actually an enemy society. That is Prabhupada's concern. He is saying that indeed men are living like cats and dogs, spoiling the duration of their human lives by actually preparing to transmigrate again to the degraded species among the 8,400,000 forms of life. The Krishna consciousness movement is anxious to serve human society by teaching people to perform devotional service. Devotional service one cannot perform on his own. It is not that I know that in devotional service I have to perform chanting and I will be in my own room, in my comfort zone, and I will chant and I will perform. It is according to the instruction. And how to follow the instruction? One has to be trained. Prabhupada is saying. Prabhupada is expressing his concern that he is saying that our movement is anxious to serve the human society. Why he is anxious? Because the society does not allow. This is what in later verses Prahlad Maharaj will speak. That nate vidu swart gatim hi Vishnu durashaya bahi artmanina. Because the human society is very much indulged into eating, sleeping, mating, and depending. So Prabhupada is saying that the Krishna consciousness movement is anxious to serve the human society by teaching people to perform devotional service, which can save a human being from being degraded again to animal life. As already stated by Prahlad Maharaj, Bhagavad Dharma consists of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. It begins from Shravanam. How important it is to hear from the bona fide source. In all school, colleges and universities and at home, all children and youth should be taught to hear about the personality of God. This is Srila Prabhupada's desire. A very sweeping statement he makes. In all schools, colleges and universities, and those who are not in such institutions, he says, and at home, all children and youths should be taught to hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, they should be taught to hear the instructions of Bhagavad Gita and to put them into practice in their lives, and thus to become strong in devotional service. What it does, what hearing does, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning here. What hearing does, it gives the hearer an aspiration to perform devotional service. He genuinely cultivates the desire to perform devotional service, free from fear of being degraded to animal life. Following Bhagavad Dharma has been made extremely easy in the age of Kali. The Shastra says, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nameva Kevalam, Kalau Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva Gatiranyatha. This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya is also quoted there. So one need only chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Where is the need of hearing? One need only chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But can we hear the mantra? Are we able to hear the mantra? So hearing has to be practiced. The purpose of all the books of knowledge, of all the Vedic texts, is to be able to purify us, to be able to hear. And to be able to understand and to be able to hear, we have to chant. So both are parallel. So Prabhupada says that like the railway, like a railway track, it has two tracks. So both are required. To be able to chant, we need to know the Shastras. And to be able to know the Shastra, we need to chant. So Prabhupada is saying that everyone engaged in the practice of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra will be completely cleansed from the core of his heart and thus be saved from the cycle of birth and death. So what Srila Prahlad Maharaj is emphasizing in this first verse is from the date of birth. The child should be taught to associate in the devotional environment so that he can perform devotional service. Then he says, Yatha hi purushasya iha Vishnu padu sarpanam yad esha sarvbhutana priyatma atmeshwara suhita. The human form of life affords one such chance to return home back to God. So see very systematically how Prahlad Maharaj is preaching. He is emphasizing that this human form of life should not be wasted. So he says that the human form of life affords one a chance to return home back to Godhead. Therefore, every living entity, especially in the human form of life, must engage in devotional service to the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. This devotional service is natural because Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the most beloved, the master of the soul. Priya Atma Ishvara Shruhit. Shruhit, Priya means the dear one, and Atma is the soul, and Ishvara means who is the master of the soul. And Suhit also means one who is the best well-wishing friend. So devotional service is natural because Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the most beloved. He is Priya. He is Atma Ishvara. He is the master of the soul. And he is Suhit. He is the well-wisher of all living beings. Prabhupada quotes from Bhagavad Gita. Do you see? If you don't know Bhagavad Gita, what you will do in Bhagavatam? Every explanation of Srila Prabhupada, every purport of Prabhupada of Bhagavatam is filled with Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada starts the purport with Srimad Bhagavad Gita verse 5.29. Bhoktaram yagatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram shuhidam sarvabhutanam gyatva maham shanti richati. The sages know me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifice and austerities. Yagatapasam. Krishna is the Bhokta. So who knows this? Not ordinary soul, the sages. The Supreme Lord of all planets is Sarvalok, Maheshwara, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities. So such a person who knows the Supreme Lord in this three way, that Krishna is the Bhokta, Krishna is the proprietor, he is the enjoyer, he is the proprietor, and also he is the best well-wishing friend. No one in this world, any relationship, can claim to be the ever well-wishing friend. But Krishna says, he is Shuhid Sarva Bhutana, of all the living entities at all times. Krishna is the best well-wishing friend. So he says, one who knows this, one who is convinced about this, Gyatva Mam, in such a way what Krishna is declaring, Shantin Vichati. He can attain peace from the pangs of material necessities. Otherwise, he will continue in the endeavors of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. How to improve it, or how to increase it. Simply by understanding these three facts, that the Supreme Lord Vishnu is the proprietor of entire creation, that he is the best well-wishing friend of all living entities and that he is the supreme enjoyer of everything, one becomes peaceful and happy. Prabhupada is adding. Krishna says, Shanti Vichati, Prabhupada says he becomes peaceful and happy. Because Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Ashantasya kuto sukha. One who is not peaceful, how can he experience any joy? So Prabhupada is adding this. For this transcendental happiness, the living entity has wandered throughout the universe in different forms of life and in different planetary systems. But because he has forgotten his intimate relationship with Vishnu, he has merely suffered life after life. Therefore, the educational system in the human form of life should be so perfect that one will understand his intimate relationship with God or Vishnu. So this is the purpose of education, is to revive our lost relationship with the Supreme Lord. Every living entity has an intimate relationship with God. One should therefore glorify the Lord in the adoration of Shantaras or revive his eternal relationship with Vishnu as servant in Dasyaras, a friend in Sakhyaras, a parent in Vatsalyaras, or a conjugal lover in Madhuryaras. All these relationships are on the platform of love. So what one has to revive is his loving propensity. And how we see the person love is how much he is willing to serve. And to serve, one has to sacrifice. One has to sacrifice his own comfort. Without sacrifice, there cannot be any service. And without service, there is no love. And without love, there is no relationship. So how to revive the relationship is by engaging in service. That is why Srila Prabhupada is saying that the perfection of human form of life is to engage in devotional service. So Prabhupada says that all these relationships are on the platform of love. Vishnu is the center of love for everyone, and therefore the duty of everyone is to engage in the loving service of the Lord. As stated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, 25th chapter, 38th verse, Yesham aham priyatma sutascha sukhagruhu shuhido devam ishtam. In any form of life, this is Lord Kapil Dev's teaching to Mother Devahoti, 3.25. The Lord is teaching, you see, there is no age, no bar for anyone to receive the training of devotional service. Prahlad Maharaj received it when he was in the womb. And when did Mother Devavati receive? From his son. So one can begin from any age. And who can give this knowledge? One who is trained. Kiba Vipra, Kiba Nyasi, Shudra Kenonoy, Jai Krishna Tattvaveta, Sei Guru Boy. So it does not matter whether he is Vipra, Vipra means whether he is Brahman, Kiba Vipra, Kiba Nyasi, or he is in the renounced order of life, or he may be even a Shudra. Shudra means by birth. But that does not matter. Jai Krishna Tattvaveta, one who is the knower of the science. That is why this entire canto is entitled as Science of God. Jai Krishna Tattvaveta, Sei Guru. So Prahlad Maharaj is age 5, but he is teaching all of us. He is Mahajan. Amongst the 12 Mahajan, one of the Mahajan is Prahlad. So he is emphasizing that therefore the duty of everyone is to engage in the loving service of the Lord, as stated by the Supreme Personality. Okay. In any form of life, we are related with Vishnu, who is most beloved, the Super Soul, Son, Friend, and Guru. Our eternal relationship with God can be revived in the human form of life. So this is the most cherished gift of human form of life. That in this human form of life, one can revive his lost relationship by suitable practice and training. Both by suitable practice and training. And that should be the goal of education. Indeed, that is the perfection of life and the perfection of education. Sukham endriyakam daitya deha yogena dehina sarvatra labhyate devat yata dukkham ayat ayatnata. So he is mentioning to his friends, he is saying, Sukham endriyakam daitya. Endriyakam means which refers to the material senses. So happiness which is born, which is experienced from the material senses. He says, my dear friends born of demonic family, the happiness perceived with reference to the sense objects by contact with the body, that is the material senses, can be obtained in any form of life. What are these happiness? Like when we eat, through the tongue, it goes into the belly. And the tongue gets the palate. The tongue receives the taste. But this process of receiving this happiness through the sense of taste, it is there in every species of life. In every species of life, one has to eat, to exist, to survive. So that happiness is there in every form of life. Similarly, sleeping, every species of life takes rest, sleeps. An owl may sleep during the day, but he invariably sleeps. So he is condemning these four gross activities of sense pleasure, of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Why? Because this is available with anybody in any form of life, according to one's past fruitive activities, according to one's karma. Fruitive activities is karma. Such happiness is automatically obtained without endeavor, just as we obtain. This is a very, very important principle. He says, Yatha dukkham ayatnata. So happiness will comes out of one's own karma or one's own providence. One cannot expand his happiness by his endeavors. To the extent what he has performed in his past life, to that extent, quota is reserved. So that quota of happiness will be experienced in this life. And he gives an example of, similarly, yatha dukkham ayatnata. Yatnata. Yatnata. Yatna means to perform endeavor. Yatna. Yatane palan kari. Madhavatiti bhakti janani yatane palan kari. Yatna means to make endeavor. And ayatana means that there is no endeavor. There is no attempt, no effort. So the distress or the miseries that we receive in our life, or we are inflicted with, or we are forced upon, do we make some endeavor to become diseased? Do we make some, plan so that suffering can come in our life? No. So it comes ayatnata, without making an endeavor. So the miseries, we are trying to save ourselves from miseries, to be not inflicted or not to be imposed upon by these miseries, the threefold miseries of life. But it comes as its own. So similarly, he says, the sukham also. Sarvata labhyate deva yatha dukkham ayatnata. Sukham endriyakam daitya. So one who is not intelligent, his entire life is spent uselessly in trying to expand his happiness and in trying to minimize his suffering, which he will never be able to do. Because both the quotas are fixed according to what he has performed in his past life. So it is a futile exercise. Prabhupada will enlighten us. In the material world, in any form of life, there is some so-called happiness and so-called distress. Krishna explains the principle in the 18th chapter. He says, Anishtam Ishtam Mishram. Anishtam means that is distress. Anisht. And Ishtam means that is favorable. And Mishram means which is mixed. So in this any form of life, this combination is going to exist, both Anisht and Ishta. So Anisht is distress and Ishta is happiness. So in any form of life there is so-called happiness and so-called distress. No one invites distress in order to suffer, but still it comes. Similarly, even if we do not endeavor to obtain the advantage of material happiness, we shall obtain them automatically. This is to be very, very carefully recorded. And even if we do not endeavor to obtain advantages of material happiness, we shall obtain them automatically. Prabhupada says that material well-being follows spiritual well-being. If you are spiritually well situated, you are materially automatically elevated. There is no doubt. This happiness and distress are obtainable in any form of life without endeavor. Thus, there is no need to waste time and energy fighting against distress or working very hard for happiness. Our only business in this human form of life should be to revive our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus become qualified to return home back to Godhead. Material happiness and distress come as soon as we accept a material body, regardless of what form. What are the four material distress? As soon as we receive the body, it is subjected to birth, death, disease, and old age. And also, any body, it will have Shadvikas. It will have 6 transformations. It cannot remain the same. It cannot be retained. It will come into conception, that is birth. It will grow. Then it will stagnate. Then it will give some byproducts. Then it will dwindle. And finally it will die. So no one can stop this phenomenon. So Prabhupada is saying, why waste time in this? That which is inevitable, that which is obvious, why we are trying to fight against it and waste our time and our energy in trying to ward ourselves against it. We cannot avoid such happiness and distress under any circumstances. Somebody wants to go to America. Why? He has a perception, because of his ignorance, that if he reaches America, he can enjoy the life. But his quota of happiness and his quota of distress goes along with him. Wherever he may go to any planet. What to speak of America? He may go anywhere. But his karma will follow him. He cannot be relieved of his karma. It is very foolish that we are thinking that if I have more money, if I have more bigger degree, or if I have, big balance, or a beautiful wife, or a smart husband, I will be able to enjoy. Our quota is fixed according to what we have performed in past life. It cannot be changed. The Prabhupada is saying, why waste life? The best use of human life, therefore, lies in reviving our relationship with the Supreme Lord, Vishnu. And he says, Tat prayaso na kartavyo yatayur gaya param na tatha vindate shemam mukuncharna ambucham. Very good speakers. Tat prayaso na kartavyo. So that prayas we should never ever endeavor for. Which prayas? For trying to minimize the happiness or trying to minimize the distress or trying to expand. So tat prayasa na kartavyo. Don't waste your time, your energy, your life in that prayasa. Yata ayur gaya param. So what we should be doing? We should be making the endeavor in Mukunda Charanam Bhujam, in trying to offer our life, to offer our time, offer our energy and our attachment towards the lotus feet of the Lord, service of the lotus feet of the Lord. Endeavor merely for some gratification or material happiness through economic development are not to be performed. See the statements. Very, very revolutionary. If you speak to the worldly people, they will say that these people are foolish. But time will only tell who is foolish. The people who are in this process of economic development and trying to attain material happiness, have they not had enough of evidences and experiences in their life? But still they want to continue in the same path. So Prahlad Maharaj is saying that endeavors for self-gratification or material happiness through economic development are not to be performed, for they result only in loss of time and energy with no actual profit. If one endeavors are directed towards Krishna consciousness, one can surely attain the spiritual platform of self-realization. There is no such benefit from engaging oneself in economic development. The entire world is obsessed with this idea of economic development, economic advancement. We see materialistic persons busily engaged in economic development. Here comes the I must say, all day and all night, trying to increase their material opulences. But if we suppose that they get some benefit from such endeavor, Prabhupada is saying, suppose we accept that they get some benefit of some happiness. That does not solve the real problems of their lives. What is the real problem of their life? Yeah. And the three Vidatam. Nor do they know what the real problem of life is. This is the problem. They do not know what the problem is, so how can they solve? When the disease is not diagnosed, how can it be cured? So what it will lead to? It will lead to only suffering. This is due to lack of spiritual education. You see the theme, how Srila Prabhupada is again and again emphasizing. He started here, how expertly he is using the message of Prahlad Maharaj to convey. That is why Prabhupada said that everyone should read my book. Every day Prabhupada wanted 2 hours out of 20. Every day 2 hours we should chant and 2 hours we should read. Why? Because this will remove the misconception which is heavily loaded in our consciousness. This is due to lack of spiritual education, especially in the present age. Every man is in darkness, in the bodily conception of life. That is why Vasudev gave Bhagavatam. The verse, Kalau nashto disham esha. Kalau nashto disham esha. Everyone is nashta, is misdirected. Purano arko adhuno. So this Bhagavatam is there to become the torch light, to remove the ignorance, the darkness. Prabhupada is saying that every man is in darkness because in the bodily conception of life, because the aim of the life is sense gratification, economic development, not knowing anything of the spirit, soul and its need. Misguided by the blind leaders of society, people consider the body to be everything, and they are engaged in trying to keep the body materially comfortable. Today we are out of bodily concept. Right? Most of us are fasting. How much of us are feeling hunger? How many of you are feeling extreme hunger? आपको भी कुछ ज्यादा नहीं लग रहा, क्या लग रहा है? आप अगर अपने उधर होते हैं आगे रहेंगे तो रह सकते हैं बिना खाए इतने देश में? नहीं रह सकते. हाँ, नहीं लिया. आपने भी लिया या नहीं लिया? अच्छा. There is a new boy who has come. How it is possible? You see, to the level as soon as we perform the activity which is devotional service, and we try to follow what is being told, immediately there is a transcendental effect. The modes do not disturb us. Our karma, our conditioning does not bind us. We become free, at least to the time that we are performing. You can see the effect. So misguided by blind leaders of society, people consider the body to be everything, and they are engaged in trying to keep the body materially comfortable. Such a civilization is condemned because it does not lead humanity towards knowing the real goal of life. People are simply wasting time and the valuable gift of the human form because a human being who does not cultivate spiritual life but dies like cats and dogs is degraded in his next life. From human life, such a person is put into the cycle of continuous birth and death. Thus, one loses the true benefit of human life, which is to become Krishna conscious and to solve life's problems. So, Prabhupada, by reading Prabhupada's books, by sharing, by discussing, by writing, what we will come to know? We will come to know that what is the purpose of human form of life and what is the goal of human form of life. Then there is possibility in good association, we will have a desire to achieve it. Otherwise, life is spoiled. So that is where human being who does not cultivate spiritual life but dies like cats and dogs is degraded in his next life. ततो यतेत कुशला क्षेम्या भवमाश्रिता शरीरं पुरुषं यावान् na vipadyet pushkalam. Therefore, he is giving the conclusion to what he has spoken so far. Therefore, while in material existence, bhavam ashrita, a person fully competent to distinguish wrong from right must endeavor to achieve the highest goal of life. As long as the body is stout and strong. Shariram Paurusham Yavan. Yavan practically means the young age, when the body has all the resources. It is young and it is fit. As long as the body is stout and strong and it is not embarrassed by dwindling. So what one should do? One should endeavor tato yate kushala. Kushala means that which is expertise, kushal. An intelligent man instead of interested in the ultimate goal of life. So as stated by Prahlad Maharaj, the Prabhupada quotes, at the beginning of this chapter, Kumar Acharit Prajna, the word Pragya refers to one who is experienced. Pragya refers to intelligence actually. Pragya Vadanscha Bhashase. Sometimes you are speaking like a very wise, intelligent man, but you are a fool because you do not know that what is worth lamenting and what is not to be lamented. So the word Pragya refers to one who is experienced and who can distinguish right from wrong. Such a person should not waste his energy and valuable human lifetime simply working like a cat or dog to develop his economic position. Again and again, Prabhupada is emphasizing, and so is Prahlad Maharaj. For one word in this verse, there are two readings, Bhavam Ashrita and Bhayam Ashrita. Let us see the verse. Bhavam Ashrita, Bhayam Ashrita. But accepting the meaning of either of them will bring one to the same conclusion. Bhayam Ashrita indicates the materialistic way of life is almost fearful because at every step there is danger. Padam padam yad vipadam na tesham. Materialistic life is full of anxieties and fear. Bhayam. Similarly, accepting the reading Bhavam Ashrita, the word Bhavam refers to unnecessary trouble and problems. For want of Krishna consciousness, one is put into Bhavam, being perpetually embarrassed by birth, death, old age, and disease. Thus, one is surely full of anxiety. Human society should be divided in the social system of Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. But everyone can engage in devotional service. Please try to understand that Shudra does not mean that he is not in the path of perfection. In fact, he has more opportunities because he is serving all the three other orders. So Prabhupada is saying that everyone can engage. Vishnu aradhate pumsa na anya tat dosha karanam. So everyone in this Varnashram Dharma, they are trained in such a way. The Shudras are not educated, but they are trained in such a way that everyone can engage in devotional service. If one wants to live without devotional service, his status as a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya or Shudra certainly has no meaning. It is said, Sthana Grastha Patanti Yada. Whether one is on the higher or lower division, one certainly falls down for want of Krishna consciousness. A sane man, therefore, is always fearful of falling from his position. Who is fearful? Sane man. Who is a sane man? Who has intelligence. You have heard the saying, fools rush in where angels fear to tread. A foolish person, he has no fear of falling down. Why? Because he is already fallen. And he is fallen to such a condition that he cannot even acknowledge his fallen condition. Therefore, Prabhupada says, a sane man, therefore, is always fearful of falling from his position. This is a regulative principle. Very interesting. This is a regulative principle. One should not fall from his exalted position. What it means that having come in this human form of life, one should ensure that one should not go down in the degraded species of life. That one should not fall from his exalted position, because Durlabham Manusham Janma Tadapi Adhruvam Arthadam. This was the first verse. That this human form of life is very rarely. And what is the value and meaning of this life? When it is engaged in Dharman Bhagavatam, when it is engaged in performing devotional service. So one should not fall from the position of at least the human platform, because in the human platform one gets a chance to perform devotional service. The highest goal of life can be achieved as long as one's body is stout and strong. That is why Srila Prabhupada was very focused on the youth. Right? In youth, the body is stout and strong. We should therefore live in such a way that we keep ourselves always strong in mind and intelligence. Prabhupada is not emphasizing here just on the body, that we are always healthy and strong in mind and intelligence, so that we can distinguish the goal of life from life full of problems. A thoughtful man must act in this way, learning to distinguish right from wrong, and thus attain the goal of life. Pumsa Varsha Satam Hi Ayus, very, very powerful verse. Pumsa Varsha Satam Hi Ayus, Tad Ardham Cha Chaditatmana, Nishpalam Yad Asauratyam, Shete Andham Prapitastamha. So every human being has a maximum duration of life of 100 years. When it is being told in Sati Yuga, when the duration of life was 100,000 years. But Prahlad Maharaj knew he could see the future. And why he is giving this instruction? It is for us, for this age. The age of Kali is atheistic, is demonic. This Kali, there is a maximum duration of life is 100 years. For but one who cannot control his senses, half of these years are completely lost, because at night he sleeps 12 hours. You see, what a waste of human life. Just by sleeping, being in ignorance. Sleep also means ignorance. Prabhupada says, where? In Gudakesha. Eva Mukto Rishikesha Gudakesha Bharata. Senayor Vyor Madhye Stapitva Rathottama. Arjuna is Gudakesha. Gudakesh means one who has conquered over sleep. How much we are conquered by sleep? That half of the life is wasted at sleep. So half of these years are completely lost because he sleeps 12 hours. So according to the level of what our sleep is, to that extent we have wasted our life. But sleep up to 6 hours in out of 24 hours is required. So how much is gone? 25%. We have 75% remaining to perform devotional service. In a way, those who are engaging 75% of their time in performing devotional service, that 25% sleep also becomes devotional service. Why? Because body is required to be rejuvenated, is to be re-energized, is to be recharged, to be able to perform service. Like even half an hour of sleep has surcharged us. We are able to concentrate. So, Prahlad Maharaj is emphasizing, for those who are sleeping more than 6 hours, please take note. Try to come to this optimum level, not whimsically, but in a very regulated way. This is what he is saying. But one who cannot control his senses, the control of senses begins by eating, then sleeping. Yukta ahar viharas. Yukta teshtata karmasu. Yukta swapna bodhasya yogi bhavati dukta. 517, 617. 617. Yeah. So he sleeps 12 hours being covered by ignorance. Therefore, such a person has a lifetime of only 50 years. So you see, if we are sleeping, so how many lives is already lost? So if someone is 40 years or 30 years and he sleeps 8 hours, so 40 years is gone, and out of the remaining 60 years, another 1/3, 20 years. So he is already 60. 60 years of his life is already over. You see, Lord Brahma, a human being, and an ant all live for 100 years. But their 100 years calculation is different. Just try to understand the concept which is being given here. I wanted to show you that watch. Somehow I didn't get the opportunity. I had to come down. You saw that watch? Brahma's watch? Did you not notice Brahma's watch when we were there? The expo? Brahma's watch was there, no? You didn't notice. Notice that? Brahma's watch was there. So Brahma's age, his Ayu is also 100 years. But his 100 years calculation will constitute many billions of years here. So Pradipati Srila Prabhupada is clarifying that a Brahma, a human being, and an ant all live for 100 years. But their lifetimes of 100 years are different from one another. This world is a relative world, and its relative moments of time are different. Thus, the 100 years of Brahma are not as same as the 100 years of the human being. From Bhagavad Gita, we understand that Brahma's daytime of 12 years equals 4,300,000 times 1,000 years. Sahas Yuga Paryantam. Ahar Yad Brahmano Vidu. That is 8.17. If you want to see the calculation, you see this verse of Bhagavad Gita. That is the Varsha Satam. So this is the verse. Varsha Satam. Pumska Varsha Satam Hi Ayus. So this is fixed for everyone. That Ayu is fixed. Varsha Satam. Satam means 100. And Varsha means years. So for every living species, his lifespan is 100 years. But how that calculation of years is done for that species and for that planet is different. Thus, the Varsha Satam or 100 years are relatively different according to time, person, and circumstances. As far as human beings are concerned, the calculation is given here is right for the general public. Although one has a maximum of 100 years of life, by sleeping one loses 50 years. Eating, sleeping, sex life, and fear are 4 bodily necessities. But to utilize the full duration of life, a person desiring to advance in spiritual consciousness must reduce this activity. At least today we have to some extent reduced. So far, no eating, no wastage of time, very less sleeping also. But to utilize the full duration of life, a person desiring to advance in spiritual consciousness must reduce these activities. That will give him an opportunity to fully use his lifetime. Mugdasya balye kaishore Tidayato yati vimshati jaraya grasta dehasya yati akalpasya vimshati. Further calculation is being given. It says, Mugdasya bali kaishora. Mugdasya means that person who is captivated or who is very much attracted. So in the tender age of childhood, when everyone is bewildered, one passes 10 years. So childhood is 10 years. See the calculation. 50% of the life is already gone in sleeping. Another 10 years is gone in childhood, when there is indolence or adolescence. So one cannot decide what is right or what is wrong. Similarly, in boyhood, engaged in sporting and playing, one passes another 10 years. So another 10 gone. 50 plus 10, how much? 60, then another 10, 70. In this way, 20 years are wasted. Mugdasya Balakishora means that in Keshor means in youth, there is too much attraction towards the opposite sex. One is very much captivated. Similarly, in old age, when one is invalid, and Jaraya Grasta Dehasya. Jaraya means old age. Jara is old age. Grasta Dehasya, so the body becomes invalid. Similarly, in old age, when one is invalid, unable to perform even material activities, one passes another 20 years wastefully. So how many gone? Boyhood 10, youth 10, old age 20. And if we are sleeping 12 hours, then add 50. And if we are sleeping 6 hours, add how much? 20. These years are already over. Without Krishna consciousness, one wastes 20 years in childhood. That is why it is said, when somebody comes to us and says that he does not have child, he does not have time, it means he is in complete ignorance. He is not able to see how he is wasting his time. Prabhupada said, without Krishna consciousness, one wastes 20 years in childhood and boyhood, another 20 years in old age. When one cannot perform any material activities and is full of anxiety about what is to be done by his sons and grandsons and how one's state should be protected. Half of these years are spent in sleep. Furthermore, one wastes another 30 years sleeping at night during the rest of his life. Thus, 70 out of 100 years are wasted. 50, 20, 20. 70. Wasted by a person who does not know the aim of life and how to utilize this life. When this was spoken? This was not spoken now. And now with internet-enabled mobile phone, I really doubt that whatever is left is remaining. That is also being wasted. Dura purena kamena mohena cha baliyasa shesham graheshu sattasya brahmatasya payatihi. Then he says, one whose mind and senses are uncontrolled becomes increasingly attached to family life. That is, Dura Purena Kamena. Kamena is the desire to enjoy the opposite sex. So one whose mind and senses are uncontrolled becomes increasingly attached to family life because of insatiable lusty desires and very strong illusion. Mohena cha baliyasa. Mohena means by illusion or bewilderment, and baliyasa means that such a desire or such an impetus or such a urge is very, very forceful, very formidable. In such a madman's life, Prabhupada says that such a person is a mad. Pramatasya. Pramatasya means mad. And Pramatasya he. Pramatasya he. Apayati. He wastefully. The remaining years are also wasted because even during these years he cannot engage in certain devotional service. So that means if we are not engaging in devotional service, we are just wasting our time. We are just wasting our time. So we can decide. It is not me speaking. When I speak, I may look like Hiranyakashipu while you are saying so. While you are all the time emphasizing and you see what will happen. But if we are not engaged in devotional service, what we are doing, we are like a madman. Mad. This is on account of 100 years of life. Although in this age of lifetime of 100 years is generally not possible Even if one has 100 years, the calculation is that 50 years are wasted in sleeping, 20 years in childhood and boyhood, and 20 years in invalidity, jara vyadhi. This leaves only a few more years. But because of too much attachment to household life, those years are also spent with no purpose, without God consciousness. Therefore, one should be trained to be a perfect brahmachari. Here comes my point. It is not my point. What point I have? The point is only coming from His divine grace. Therefore, one should be trained to be a perfect brahmachari in the beginning of life, and then to be perfect in sense control, following the regulative principles. If one becomes, this is required before one becomes a householder. Otherwise, we cannot be a grahastha. He will be a pramatasya, a grahamedi. From household life, one is ordered to accept vanaprastha life, and then go to the forest and then accept sannyas. That is the perfection of life. So 50 years means you leave home. If you have reached 50, no more inside the same dwelling. From the very beginning of life, those who are ajitendriya, who cannot control their senses, are educated only for sense gratification, as we have seen in the Western countries. Thus, the entire duration of life of even 100 years is wasted and misused, and at the time of death, one transmigrates to another body which may not be human. At the end of 100 years, one who has not acted as a human being in a life of tapasya, ठीक है दिवाकर, tapasya is required. Tapasya is required. Austerity and penance must certainly be embodied again in the body life of cat. So this is the words of His divine grace. One who has not acted as a human being in a human being life means tapasya. Why tapasya? For purifying the senses. He will be embodied again. These are Prabhupada's word. He will be embodied again in a body like those of cats and hogs. Dogs and hogs. Therefore, this life of lusty desires and sense gratification is extremely risky. Ko greheshu puman saktam atmanam ajitendriya snepashe dridher baddham utsaheti vimochitam. What persons to attach to household life due to being unable to control his senses can liberate himself? An attached householder is bound very strongly by ropes of affection for his family, wife, children, and other relatives. Ko griheshu puman saktam. Asaktam means attached, and saktam means very severely attached. This is what this verse is saying. What persons to attach to household life? So without being trained, if one enters the household life, it's very risky, very dangerous. Because sneha pashe dridha baddham. An attached householder is bound very strongly by ropes of affection for his family. Prahlad Maharaj's first proposal was Komar Acharit Pragna Dharma Bhagavatam. One who is sufficiently intelligent should use his human form of body from the very beginning of life. In other words, from the tender days of childhood to practice the activities of life. So urgency should come in our life that we have already wasted so many years. So much opportunity has been wasted. This urgency should come. And if it is not coming, that means that we are still not bothered. The consciousness has still not recovered from the covering. Giving up all other engagements. Prabhupada is again and again saying, to practice the activities of devotional, please understand, don't think that you'll be able to perform devotional service while performing all other engagements in life. It is not possible. That is why Prabhupada is again and again saying, to practice the activities of devotional service, giving up all other engagements. Don't become fearful. It is not meaning that you don't study or you don't earn. But that should not be the priority. That should not be the priority. Only to the minimum extent required. No more. Dharma, Bhagavata mean religious principles of reviving our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For this purpose, Krishna advises Sarva Dharmani Paityaje Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. So give up all other duties and surrender unto me. While in the material world we manufacture, look at the words, please note the words. Prabhupada says, while in the material world we manufacture so many duties in the name of so many isms. But our actual duty is to free ourselves from the cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. For this purpose, one must first be liberated from material bondage, and especially from household life. Please watch the words. Everyone is dreaming. When will that day come? When will I have the life partner of my choice? For this purpose, one must first be liberated from material bondage and especially from household life. Household life is actually a kind of license for a materially attached person by which to enjoy some gratification in the negative principle. Otherwise, there is no need of entering household life. Before entering household life, one should be trained as a brahmachari, living or brahmacharini, living under the care of the Guru, whose place is known as Gurukula. Brahmachari Gurukule Vasandanto Guruvita. From the very beginning, a brahmachari is trained to sacrifice everything for the benefit of Guru. Prabhupada writes in the 8th chapter, the final verse, what is brahmachari life? That he goes and collects on behalf of the Guru. He goes door to door and collects alms on behalf of the Guru. And he comes back and he prepares and offers to the Supreme Lord. And if the Guru does not instruct, he does not eat. So far we have knowledge in this. If we are being asked to do so, then our test will come. So far our Guru is very, very merciful. He has opened so many kitchens. You eat, Baba, perform devotional service. So here it is being said that before entering household life, one should be trained as a brahmachari. Why the purity is not coming? Because we are not being trained. Why we are not being trained? Because we are not agreeing to be trained. From the very beginning, a brahmachari is trained to sacrifice everything for the benefit of the Guru. A brahmachari is advised to go begging. Oh my God, same example as well. I have not seen. There was no, these days I am giving Bhakti Shasti without seeing. There is no chance to prepare. There is no time. Go begging arm door to door, addressing all women as mother, and whatever he collects goes to the benefit of the Guru. In this way, he learns how to control his senses and sacrifice everything for Guru. When he is fully trained, if he likes, he is allowed to marry. Thus, he is not an ordinary grihastha who has learned only how to satisfy his senses. A trained grihastha can gradually give up household life and go to the forest to become increasingly enlightened in spiritual life and at last take sannyas. Prahlad Maharaj explained to his father that to be freed from all material anxieties, one should go to the forest. Hitva Atma Patam Graha Andhukupam. One should give up his household, which is a place for going further and further down into the darkest region of materialism. It is only for those who are not practicing. Let me clarify. Don't become very much fearful or disturbed. Those who are in household life. But household life without Krishna consciousness, this is the situation. So, the first advice, therefore, that one must give up the household life, graham andhakupam. However, if one prefers to remain in the dark well of household life because of uncontrolled senses, he becomes increasingly entangled by ropes of affection for his wife, children, servants, house money, and so on. Such a person cannot attain liberation from material bondage. Therefore, children should be taught from the very beginning of life. Again, Srila Prabhupada is there, not from the age of 5, from the very beginning of life to be first class brahmacharis. Then it will be possible for them to give up household life. So that is why we don't see any one plus. You see any one plus? No one is one plus. They cannot give up this attachment. It's not possible. To return home back to Godhead, one must completely free from material attachment. Therefore, Bhakti Yoga means Vairagya Vidya, and that art can help one develop a distaste for material enjoyment. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayati Yasu Vairagyam Jnanam cha yadahetukam. From Srimad Bhagavatam. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayogita. Bhakti Yoga means performing devotional service. Janayati Asu Vairagyam. So what is the effect of performing devotional service? That one becomes detached. Vairagyam. And Jnanam Chayat Ahetukam. And one becomes situated in knowledge. This knowledge? Spiritual knowledge. So if one is not becoming detached and one is not becoming situated in knowledge, that means he is not performing devotional service. Very clear. Because it is ahetukam. It comes on its own. Like when the sun comes up, the heat and light is there on its own. If there is no heat and no light, that means there is no sun. As soon as we take a morsel of food, what is there? There is nourishment and the hunger abates. So similarly, if one is performing devotional service, there are two effects. One is Janayati Asu Vairagyam. Asu means very quickly. Asu means very quickly. What comes? First what comes is detachment. Prabhupada says if one engages in devotional life from the beginning, and when from the beginning of life he easily attains Vairagya Vidya or Asakti, detachment, and becomes Jitendriya, the controller of the senses. One who perfectly engages in devotional service is therefore called Goswami or Swami, master of the senses. Unless one is a master of the senses, he should not accept the renounced order of life, sannyas. Ravindra Prabhu, you want to come? You want to attend the Abhishek?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So you can start. You will start at least at 4:30 because there will be a lot of crowd.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, and then you can hear if you want to hear. Pradeep Prabhu mercifully is always recording. Those who miss out, for them there is a second chance.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So unless one is a master of the senses, he should not accept the renounced order of life sannyas. So how he can become a master of the senses if he has been a brahmachari? From the very beginning of his life, he has received this training. Without full knowledge, one cannot be unattached to materialism. Please understand this. So unless and until one is situated in knowledge, what is the conclusion that one has received knowledge? That he becomes detached. If one is attached, that means this Christian knowledge has not penetrated. That means he is still hovering on the mental plane. So, see, the purport is so clear. A strong inclination for sense enjoyment is the cause of material bondage. Without full knowledge, one cannot be unattached to material enjoyment. But as long as one is not in that position, one is not fit to return home back to Godhead. Konva arthat Krishnam Visrejet Pranebhyo apiya ikshita Yam Krinatya Ashubhi Prestes Taskara Sevako Vane. Heavy. Money is so dear. In household life, what is the most possessed possession? Money is so dear that one conceives of money making being sweeter than honey. So everything is coming from our acharyas. They have already declared it. Pranebhyo api ya ipshita. Ipshita means more desire, which is more sweeter. What is that? Money. Money is so dear that one conceives of money as being sweeter than honey. Therefore, who can give up the desire to accumulate money, especially in household life? One thieves, professional servants, and merchants try to acquire money even by risking their very dear lives. So, what category? It is very interesting. See the category? Taskara Sevako. What is this category? Thieves. Taskara. Sevako, professional servant, that is soldiers. Today's army is also, and merchants. Manik means merchant. All try to acquire money even by risking their very dear lives. How money can be dearer than life is indicated in this verse. Thieves may enter the house of a rich man to steal money at the risk of their lives. Because of trespassing, they may be killed by guns or attacked by watchdogs. But still they try to commit burglary. Why do they risk their lives? Only to get some money. Similarly, a professional soldier is recruited into an army. And he accepts a service with the risk of dying on the battlefield only for the sake of money. In the same way, merchants goes from one country to another on boats at the risk of their life. Or they dive into the water of the sea to collect pearls and valuable gems. Thus, it is practically proved that everyone will admit that money is sweeter than money. One may risk everything to acquire money, and this is especially true of rich men who are too attached to household life. Formerly, of course, the members of the higher caste, the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, everyone but the Shudras, were trained in the Gurukul. He is not trained. Who? Shudra. But he is given the opportunity to adhere to life of renunciation and sense control by practicing brahmacharya and mystic yoga. So because this is what the Britishers did. What they did, they completely destroyed the Gurukul system. And today parents, they feel very proud of themselves to admit their son in the Western way of education. I know one devotee. He has two sons. I know him very closely. Both his sons, he never sends to school because he is slaughterhouse. Right? That the modern education institutes are slaughterhouses. I also know two other very distinguished devotees in our movement. His Grace Radhika Raman Prabhu and his younger brother Gopal Hari Prabhu. Their mother taught them throughout their life Srila Prabhupada's books, and they broke all records. In US, he is the youngest PhD holder. Radhika Raman Prabhu, Ravi Gupta. You can see in the records. But they were not allowed to go to the schooling or the universities. Now they are teaching in universities. But what they are teaching Vedic. I just met Gopal Hari Prabhu a few days back on Sita Navami Day. He came from US. Both of them are from US. Their mother took the burden. She taught them Prabhupada books. And when she was conceiving the child, she was all the time reading Prabhupada books. She was a child who are not teaching. They are both professors in well-known universities, but they teach Vedic science. Prabhupada is saying that all the higher castes, he just excluding the Shudra, Brahmana, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, everyone were trained in the Gurukula to adhere to a life of renunciation and sense control by practicing brahmacharya and mystic yoga. Then they were allowed to enter household life. There have consequently been so many instances in which great king and emperor have given up household life, although they were extremely opulent and were masters of kingdom. They could give up all their possessions because they were trained early as brahmacharis. Prahlad Maharaj advice is therefore very appropriate. Kaumarachare pragyo. This verse we should have memorized by now. Dharma bhagavatam iha Durlabhamanusham Dharma. Okay. Anyone? Tadapi Adruvam. बड़ा सिंपल है. कौमार आचरित प्रज्ञा याद रहेगा. Start about कौमार आचरित प्रज्ञा. प्रज्ञा means one who is sufficiently intelligent. So what he should do? Dharma bhagavatam iha. You should practice this process of devotional practice or devotional service. Why? Because durlabham manusham dharma. Because this human form of life is rarely obtained. So tadapi adhruvam artham. Because this human form of life, it can be lost any moment. So what is the value or meaning if we have engaged the human form of life in devotional service? See how many times Prabhupada is repeating? Because even after Shrutva api yena tena paschit. After hearing hundreds of times also, very few will accept. And rarely one will apply. One who is sufficiently intelligent should use the human form of body from the way wait. Yes, it is here. Don't get distracted. Again, Prabhupada is writing that one who is sufficiently intelligent should use the human form of body from the very beginning of life. In other words, from the tender age of childhood to practice the activities of devotional service, giving up all other engagements. Not together. दो पाँव दो नाव में एक साथ पाँव नहीं चले. दोनों डूब जाएंगे. So gradually our priorities should change. What it means is that we should become clear in our heart that what we have to do. Till the time we are not sufficiently situated in constitutional duties, we have to perform occupational duties. But we should not give up our constitutional duties to perform occupation. And occupational duty, the duties what we do, we keep adding, or we manufacture ourselves. Even a slight amount of sincere devotional service, again and again Prabhupada is saying, even a slight amount of sincere devotional service can give one complete perfection. Human society should take advantage of this instruction. Big verse. Katham priyaya anukampitaya sangam rahasyam rutiram samantra suhitsu tatsneshita shishlunam kalaksharanam anukritachita putram smaranam staduhita hridya hritan swase cha pitro cha dino grihan manor no parchidamscha vrittischa kuleya pasubhrittya tajjeta koshasprit ive manana karmani lobhyadavapitratamaha anupashyatya jevaham bahu maniyamanaha katham virajye durantamoha. It was something very heavy on me. How a person who is most affectionate to his family, the core of his heart being always filled with the pictures, with their pictures. Sorry. How can a person who is most affectionate to his family, the core of his heart being always filled up with their pictures, give up their association, especially a wife, and for a wife it is husband, is always very kind and sympathetic and always pleases her husband in a solitary place. Who could give up the association of such dear and affectionate wife? Small children in vocal language, very pleasing to hear, and their affectionate father always thinks of their sweet words. How could he give up their association? One's elderly parents and one's sons and daughters are also very dear. A daughter is especially dear to her father, while living at her husband's house, she is always in his mind. Who could give up that association? Aside from this, in household affairs, there are many decorated items of household furniture, and there are also animals and servants. Who would give up such comfort? The attached householder is like a silkworm, which weaves a cocoon in which he has become imprisoned, unable to get out simply for the satisfaction of two important senses, the genitals and the tongue. One is bound on material condition. How can one escape? So, Prahlad Maharaj is raising this question. It's a very heavy verse. Huh? Please read it many times to be able to get the deeper meaning of it. The Prabhupada says in household affairs, the first attraction is the beautiful and pleasing wife, who increases household attraction more and more. One enjoys his wife with two prominent sense organs, namely the tongue and the genitals. The wife speaks very sweetly. This is the same. Where it is being said for wife, it is for men, and where it is being said for husband, it is for woman. The wife speaks very sweetly. This is certainly an attraction. Then she prepares very palatable food to satisfy the tongue. And when the tongue is satisfied, one gains strength in other sense organs, especially the genitals. Thus, the wife gives pleasure in sexual intercourse. Household life means sex life. Yan Matsunadi Gramedi Sukhami Tucham. This is encouraged by the tongue. Then there are children. A baby gives pleasure by speaking sweet words in broken language. And when the sons and daughters are grown up, one becomes involved in their education and marriage. Then there are one's fathers and mothers to be taken care of. Then there are one's own father and mother to be taken care of. And one also becomes concerned with his social atmosphere and with pleasing his brothers and sisters. A man becomes increasingly entangled in household affairs, so much so that leaving them becomes almost impossible. Thus, a householder becomes graha andhakupa, a dark well in which the man has fallen. For such a man to get out is extremely difficult unless he is held by a strong person. It is not that he cannot be held, but he is to be held by a strong person, the spiritual master, who helps the fallen person with the strong rope of spiritual instruction. So how is he held? He is held through the instruction. A fallen person should take advantage of this rope, and then the spiritual master, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, will take him out of it. कुटुम्ब पोषाय विवान निज्युर ना बोधयते अर्थम विहितम प्रमत्ता सर्वत्र तापत्रय दुखितात्मा निर्विद्यते न स्वकुटुम्ब नमः. One who is too attached cannot understand that he is wasting his valuable life for the maintenance of his family. He also fails to understand that the purpose of human life, a life suitable for realization of the absolute truth, is being imperceptibly spoiled. However, he is very cleverly attentive to seeing that not a single farthing, you understand, is money, is lost by mismanagement. Thus, although an attached person in material existence always suffers from threefold misery, he does not develop a distaste for the way of materialism. So, Prahlad Maharaj here is emphasizing that how the trap is laid, why family life is so entangling, how he is trapped. A foolish man does not understand the values of life, nor does he understand how he is wasting his valuable life simply for the maintaining of his family member. He is expert in calculating the loss of pounds, shillings and pence, but he is so foolish that he does not know how much money he is losing even according to material considerations. Chanakya Pandit gives the example that a moment of life lost cannot be purchased in exchange of millions of dollars. A foolish person, however, wastes such a valuable life without knowing how much he is losing, even according to monetary calculations. Although a materialistic person is expert in calculating cost and doing business, but he does not realize that he is misusing his costly life for want of knowledge. Even though such a materialistic person is always suffering threefold miseries, he is not intelligent enough to seize his materialistic way of life. Vitteshu nityabhinivishtateta विद्वांस दोषम परविद्हारुता प्रत्ययावत्यापि अजितेन्द्रियस्तद् अशांत कामो हरेत कुटुम्बी. If a person too attached to the duties of family maintenance is unable to control his senses, the core of his heart is immersed in how to accumulate money. Although he knows that one who takes the wealth of others will be punished by the law of government, and by the law of yaftas after death, he continues cheating others to acquire money. So see how he engages in sinful activity. Especially in these days, people who do not believe in the next life or in the court of Yamraj and the various punishments of the sinful. Who is calling you so much? हाँ, ग्रोसरी नहीं है. But आज कितनी तारीख है? 15. I will not bring it. 15 you remember to bring grocery. You should plan when. When you should plan? From 10. But at least one should know that one who cheats other to acquire money will be punished by the law of government. Nonetheless, people do not care. So we should never ever किसी का उधार लिया है तो दे दो, चुका दो. Don't cheat. Don't think that you will be able to enjoy. You will suffer so much in this life and so many other lives to come. This cheating propensity is the cause of our suffering. Especially in these days, people do not believe in the next life or in the court of Yamraj and the various punishment of sinful. But at least one should know that one who cheats others to acquire money will be punished by the law of government. Nonetheless, people do not care about the laws of this life or those governing the next. Despite whatever knowledge one has, one cannot stop his sinful activities if he is unable to control his senses. So one whose senses are not controlled, one who is not performing tapasya, hearing. So very important to perform tapasya. Why? Then we will have the determination that I do not require this sense enticement. I don't require. I don't want to engage in this self-verificatory affairs. Vidwan apita tanuja kutumbam. See, the entire focus is on how one should be trained from his early life and how one should become restrained. And before training, one should not enter Grihastha. If one has not received training, it is very dangerous. What should I do? It is 4:30. Should I continue? Oh, my friend, son of demons, in this material world, even those who are apparently advanced in education have the propensity to consider this is mine and this is for others. Thus, they are always engaged in providing the necessities of life to their families in a limited conception of family life, just like uneducated cats and dogs. Heavy. Those who are apparently advanced in education, PhD, apparently advanced in education. They are always engaged in providing the necessities of life to their family in a limited conception of life, just like uneducated cats and dogs. They are unable to take the spiritual knowledge. Instead, they are bewildered and overcome by ignorance. In human society, there are attempts to educate the human being, but for animal society, there is no such system, nor are animals able to be educated. Therefore, animals are unintelligent men and are called vimudha or ignorant, bewildered, whereas an educated person is called vidwan. Very beautiful. Vimudha and vidwan. The real vidwan is one who tries to understand his own position within this material world. For example, when Sanatana Goswami submitted to the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya, Mahaprabhu, the first question was, E ami keno amai jara tapatroy. In other words, he wanted to know his constitutional position and why he was suffering from the threefold miseries of material existence. This is the process of education. If one does not ask, who am I? What is the goal of my life? But instead follow the same animal propensities as cats and dogs, what is the use of this education? As discussed in the previous verse, a living being is entrapped by his fruitive activities, like exactly like a silkworm trapped on his own cocoon. Foolish persons are generally encaged by their fruitive actions, karma, because of a strong desire to enjoy this material world. Such attracted persons become involved in society, community, and nation and waste their time not having profited from having obtained human form. Especially in this age, Kali Yuga, great leaders, politicians, philosophers, and scientists are all engaged in foolish activities. Who can write this? Prabhupada is openly condemning everyone. Great leaders, politicians, philosophers, and scientists are all engaged in foolish activities, thinking this is mine and this is yours. The scientists invent nuclear weapon and collaborate with big leaders to protect the interest of their own nation or society. In this verse, however, it is clearly stated that despite their so-called advanced knowledge, they actually have the same mentality as cats and dogs. As cats and dogs and other animals not knowing their true interest in life. We are laughing, but at whom? We should cry. Instead of laughing, we should cry. Hari Hari Vipale Janam Agona. मनुष्य जन्म पाया राधा कृष्ण नाम जानिया जानिया now you cannot say we don't know suniya hearing we should find still we want to drink poison and we don't want to give up the habit of drinking poison then what can be done then suffer not knowing the true interest of life becoming increasingly involved in ignorance a so-called educated person who does not know his own self-interest or the true goal of life becomes increasingly involved in materialism. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj advises everyone to follow the principles of Varnashram. Specifically, at a certain point, one must give up family life and take to the renounced order of life to cultivate spiritual knowledge and thus become liberated. Why to renounce? Purpose of renunciation is cultivate spiritual. So if from the very beginning of life spiritual knowledge is given, then one is already renounced. Then there is nothing to renounce. Why he is not attached? One who is in ignorance is in attachment. This is further discussed in the following verse. Let us see what comes. I am not reading the verse because I am not familiar with it and I want to cover the text more. My dear friends or sons of the demons, it is certain that no one is bereft of the knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has been able to liberate himself from material bondage at any time or in any country. Rather, those bereft of knowledge of the Lord are bound by the material life. They are factually addicted to sense gratification and their target is women. Indeed, they are actually playthings in the hand of attractive women. Victimized by such conception of life, they become surrounded by children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. And thus they are shackled to material bondage. Those who are very much addicted to this conception of life are called demons. Therefore, although you are the sons of demons, keep aloof from such persons who take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan, the origin of all demigods. Because the ultimate goal of for the devotees of Narayan is liberation from the bondage of material existence. 5-year-old why giving such realizations? Has he married? Has he gone through the experience? You don't have to. We can become experienced from learning from the experiences of others. From where did he get the experience? He realized. Brahman is realized soul. And hearing from a realized soul, Prahlad Maharaj has also become realized. Prahlad Maharaj has maintained the philosophical point of view that one should give up the dark well of family life and go to the forest to take shelter. Thus, please do not misinterpret. This is only for those who are not practicing devotional service. Glorious are the householders whose center is the Supreme Lord and those who are performing devotional service. That is why it is very necessary, it is imperative that in every householder's life we should have the deities. The earlier the better, and devotional service should be performed around the deities. The entire family. So it since their birth, you see what a great advantage there is. Let me discuss this point rather than going forward. So if we have deities and we are serving deities, what will happen? The child which takes birth in that such a family, from childhood, it will have the opportunity to perform devotional service. It will be trained to perform devotional service from day one. Then there is no need. Then one is already detached. One will be situated in knowledge. He is already reviving his relationship. He is in the process of reviving his relationship with his Supreme Lord. Prahlad Maharaj has maintained the philosophical point of view that one should give up the dark well of family life and go to the forest to take shelter of the feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hitva Atma Patam Griha Andakupam Vanam Gato Yad Dhiram Ashray. In this verse also, 7.6. In this verse also, he stresses the same point. In the history of human society, no one at the time or any place has been defeated because of too much affection and attachment for his family. Even in those who are apparently very educated, the same family attachment is there. They cannot give up the association of their families, even in old age or invalidity, for they are attached to sense enjoyment. As we have several times discussed, Yan Natunadi Grahmeri Sukhamitucham, so-called householders are simply attracted by sexual enjoyment. Thus they keep themselves shackled in family life. And furthermore, they want their children to be shackled in the same way. So please understand. What advice you will get from your elders? They are shackled and they want, furthermore, they want their children to be shackled in the same way. Playing the part of, the reason for that is because of their ignorance. Playing the parts of playboys in the hands of women, they glide down to the darkest regions of material existence. Adant Gobir Vishutam Kamishram Puna Puna Charvita Charvanana. Because they are unable to control their senses, they continue a life of chewing the chew and therefore descend to the darkest material region. One should give up the association of such demons and adhere to the association of devotees. Thus, one will be able to be liberated from material bondage. My dear sons of demons, the personality of Godhead Narayan is the original super soul, the father of all living entities. Consequently, there are no impediments to pleasing him or worshipping him under any condition, whether one be a child or an old man. The relationship between the living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always a fact, and therefore there is no difficulty in pleasing the Lord. So one can perform service at any age, at any stage, under every situation, or under any situation. One may ask, one is certainly very attached to family life, but if one gives up the family life to be attached to the service of the Lord, one must undergo the same endeavor and trouble. Therefore, what is the benefit of taking the trouble to engage in the service of the Lord? This is not a valid objection. The Lord asserts in the Bhagavad Gita 14.4, Sarvyoneshu Kaunteya Murtaya Sambhavantiya Asham Brahma Mahadyoni Aham Bija Pradapita. It is to be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in the material nature. And I am the seed giving father, the Supreme Lord Narayan, is the seed giving father of all living entities, because the living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, Mamevo, Amsho, Jiva Bhuta. As there is no difficulty in establishing the intimate relationship between a father and son, there is no difficulty in re-establishing the natural intimate relationship between Narayan and the living entities. So as there is no, if the son is lost and he comes back, what is his difficulty in interacting with his father or reviving his lost relationship? There is none. So similarly, Prabhupada is comparing this, that there is no difficulty. There is no difficulty in re-establishing the devotional service. Narayan is always ready to save one from the greatest danger. The definite example is Ajamil. Ajamil separated himself from the Supreme Personality of Godhead by performing many sinful activities and was condemned by Yamraj to be very severely punished. But because at that time of death he chanted the name of Narayan, although he was calling not for the Supreme Lord Narayan but for his son Narayan, he was saved from the hands of Yamraj. Therefore, pleasing Narayan does not require as much endeavor as pleasing one's family, community, and nation. We have seen important political leaders killed for a slight discrepancy in their behavior. Therefore, pleasing one, Prabhupada is talking about whom? Mahatma Gandhi. Important political leaders killed for a slight discrepancy in their behavior. Therefore, pleasing one's society, family, community, and nation is extremely difficult. Pleasing Narayan, there's another example. John F. Kennedy. He was also shot. He was also murdered. Pleasing Narayan, however, is not at all difficult. It is very easy. One's duty is to revive one's relationship with Narayan. A slight endeavor in this direction will make the attempt successful. Whereas one will never be successful in pleasing. What's the word? Whereas one will never be successful in pleasing his so-called family, society, and nation. Even if one endeavors to sacrifice his life, the simple endeavor involved in the devotional service of Shravanam, Kirtanam Vishnu, hearing and chanting. Mercifully, we are spending the day hearing and chanting. The holy name of the Lord can make one successful in pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has therefore bestowed his blessing by saying, Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. All glories to Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. If one wants to derive the actual benefit from this human form, he must take to the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Supreme Controller, who is infallible and indefatigable, is present in different forms of life, from the inert living beings, Thavara, such as plants, to Brahma, the foremost created and living being. He is also present in the varieties of material creation and the material elements. The total material energy and the modes of material nature, Sattva-guna, Rajaguna, and Tamaguna, as well as the unmanifested material nature in the false ego. All the see, this is what his realization is. He is able to see the presence of the Lord everywhere. That is why he said that the Lord is present in the pillar. And nothing has appeared from the pillar. Because he can see the presence of the Supreme Lord. Is present, he said, the personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller, who is infallible, indefatigable, is present in different forms of life, from the inert living being, as Thavara, such as plants, to Brahma, the foremost created living being. He is also present in the varieties of material creation and in the material elements, the total material energy and the modes of material nature, as well as the unmanifested material nature and the false ego. Although he is one, he is present everywhere, and he is also the transcendental supersoul, the cause of all causes, who is present as the observer in the core of the hearts of all the living entities. He is indicated as that which is pervaded as the all-pervading super soul. But actually, he cannot be indicated. He is changeless and undoer. He is simply perceived as the supreme Sachidananda, being covered by the curtain of external energy. To the atheist, he appears not interesting. So I'll stop here. The philosophy is being told by Prahlad Maharaj. Okay. I will take the 24th verse. He says, 24th verse says, Tasmat Sarvesh, this is the last verse. Tasmat Sarveshu Bhuteshu Dayam Kuruta Sahibam Bhavamasuram Unmuchya Yaya Tushtiyati Adhokshaja. This is the conclusion. Tasmat. Tasmat means therefore. Conclusion. Therefore, my young Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu Mamanusmara Vidacha. Therefore, my young friends, born of demons, please act in such a way. So, Prahlad Maharaj is telling all of us. We are all sitting in his class today, and we are hearing from Prahlad Maharaj. And those who are not fully engaged 24 hours in devotional service, they are considered to be devotees. So, he is addressing us. He is personally addressing every one of us. So, what is this final verdict? Now, let us see what Prahlad Maharaj is concluding. Therefore, my young friends, Prahlad Maharaj is calling us as friends. Please act in such a way that the Supreme Lord, who is beyond the conception of material knowledge, will be satisfied. Give up your demoniac nature and act without enmity or duality. Show mercy to all living entities by enlightening them in devotional service. If you want to please Narsingha today, what we have to do? We have to please Prahlad Maharaj. And how we have to please Prahlad Maharaj? By accepting his instruction. There is no shortcut. If you go and dance in front of Narsingha is not pleased. Please be clear. Yeah? So, we have to please his pure devotee. To be able to please Prahlad Maharaj. Sorry. Because he is Prahlad La Dahini. The purpose of his appearance is to give joy to Prahlad. The purpose of his appearance is not to give joy to us or to give joy to Hiranyakashipu and his teammates. So even if they try, what will happen? They will only cry. So this is the final instruction. Show mercy on all living entities by enlightening them in devotional service, thus becoming their well-wisher. So Prahlad Maharaj is saying that we should try to enlighten others in devotional service and become their well-wisher. So one who is engaging us in devotional service, he is our best well-wisher. That is why Srila Prabhupada always wrote, you are ever a well-wisher. How can anyone write you are ever well-wisher? So, the eternal well-wisher. But because Prabhupada is always engaging everyone in devotional service. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 18:55, one can understand the Supreme Personality as he is only by devotional service. Prahlad Maharaj ultimately instructed his class friends, the sons of the demons, to accept the process of devotional service by preaching the science of Krishna consciousness to everyone. Preaching is the best service to the Lord, and the Lord will immediately be extremely satisfied with one who engages in the service of preaching Krishna consciousness. This is confirmed by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita. Najatasman manusheshu kashtin me priyakritama. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. If one sincerely tries his best to spread Krishna consciousness by preaching the glories of the Lord and his supremacy, even if he is imperfectly educated, he becomes the dearmost servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is bhakti. When one performs this service for humanity without discrimination between friends and enemies, the Lord becomes satisfied, and the mission of one's life is fulfilled. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore advised everyone to become a Guru devotee. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore advised everyone to become a Guru devotee. Not to always remain a chela devotee. How to become guru? By engaging others into it. And preach Krishna consciousness. Yare dekhe tare kaha Krishna upadesh. That is the easiest way to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By such preaching, the preacher becomes satisfied, and those to whom he preaches are also satisfied. This is the process of bringing peace and tranquility to the entire world. To Prahlad Maharaj, peace. I'll stop here. Okay. So we read around 24 verses. What is the learning on this? How our Narsingha Chaturdasi is different from any other previous Narsingha Chaturdasi that we have read? How we can make Narsingha really appear? Very few are there today. Very few will be there. Because this your message to accept. Why? Because of attachment. You please discuss. I'll just join you in this. Hello? Start the discussion. Hello? हाँ एक बार नाक का आवाज आ रहा है तो मेरे नोट जगह बैठे नहीं सुना बाहर बैठिए आ जाती यार क्या फर्क क्या पड़ता है ये कैसे थे ना सुनने वाला नहीं इसलिए बैंक करता है इमीडिएट नहीं है
Yes, Ganesh Prabhu.
Happy Narsingha Chaturdasi, Prabhuji.
Yes, प्रभु आपको आप लोगों को सबको हैप्पी नरसिंह चतुर्दशी। प्रभु जी क्या पूछ रहे थे?
प्रभु जी बाहर गए हैं अभी 2 मिनट में आ रहे हैं।
ओके।
How you celebrated, Prabhuji? Can you describe morning saying?
Yes, Prabhu, not
We all assembled here in temple.
no special celebration, Prabhuji. So this is we got the opportunity to hear from Prabhuji on this auspicious day. So we are enlightened by this message. Yes, Prabhu.
I want to hear from every one of you. Who's speaking? What? Pradeep Prabhu, you initiate. What did we benefit from hearing from Prahlad Maharaj today? What is his message?
Our material attachment is very intense. So to come out to
Pradeep Prabhuji, you can kindly speak.
Okay, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Due to material attachments, we could not perform devotional service Prabhuji. So to come out, to come out from this, always situate in the knowledge and performing loving devotional service. so we can achieve. So we can situate. Sorry. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, you are muted, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
You are muted, Prabhuji. You are muted.
Yes, Jolamani Prabhu, you can share your inspiration. The realization.
Yes, Prabhuji. The first and foremost message is that one should be trained in the devotional service from very early age, and at any stage also one can be trained, and one should be in association, and then only we can achieve the perfection of the human form of life. So we need training and guidance at any stage and in the association of the devotees. So this is the message what Prahlad Maharaj is giving. Yes, Prabhuji. You are muted, Prabhuji. You are muted.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Suman would like to add something from her side.
The practice of devotional service and the aim of the human form of life.
Can you please repeat? Very important that even amongst husband and wife, father and son, children, we should not be overly attached. Center should be Krishna. Otherwise, it will become a very big trap for becoming too much attached. So, husband and wife relationship also should be centered around Krishna. We should not consider each other our own property. Very important. This training has not been given. That is why there are so many conflicts. There are so many fights. Why? Because the center is not Krishna. So there will always be conflicts. Okay, so you can leave Dolamani Prabhu. You proceed for your meeting.
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. It is nearing 5. Someone would like to say something. Please, I just keep it open. Those who want to share. What is it? I think Manish Prabhu? You speak. You speak your heart. Don't speak. Sorry. I don't want to hear all this. You don't say anything.
One conception, Prabhuji, I think we are engrossed with that running behind this, what Prahlad Maharaj is telling, that over and over in material achievements. So mostly concentrating on money factor. So this propensity is there, Prabhuji, in my heart as well. So I think this direction should work. Otherwise, until this detachment is not there, then it's not possible to progress in spiritual part. And as even something was clear from today's discussion, that happiness and distress is fixed based upon our previous life's karma, not from this life. So I was not having this conception. So even though we over endeavor, we cannot change.
Neither we can expand happiness, nor can we eliminate distress. because that is the result of the past action. But if we perform bhakti, bhakti can burn to ashes all the effects of the action. That is the only. But if we don't perform bhakti and if we perform other activities, then there is a great danger. Very big danger. So we should know what is our priority. Very clear. It should not be lured away. Very clear. Morning time is only for our practice. Nothing else. Nothing else will happen in this world. In any decision, what is going to be the destiny? You will die. Before dying, you will accumulate so much of sin. You will suffer in this life. You will continue to suffer. And the result of that is that he will never be able to know what is the reason of this suffering. Very dangerous. Okay, I'll stop here. It is 5 because Abhishek is not. Yes, Sonika, we'll hear from you. Speak. You want to speak or you just want to text? Are you hearing, Sonika? Your audio is working?
She has message.
Okay, no problem. Okay, you text whatever. Okay, that's fine. Okay, I have to stop here because the OT is going to be. Thank you very much. So please, my request is go through these verses because our mind is very mystical, our intelligence is nasty, it does not allow us to understand. Please, during today and maybe next few days also. Next 2 days I won't be able to have class because I have to complete Bhakti Shastri here and my entire month is full. After I complete Bhakti Shastri here, then I have to give Bhakti Shastri classes in Ghaziabad. And then after that for congregation. Somehow, but I am guided by this verse. Nata tasman manusheshi. Kashman mein ye hogi. So if I am getting up right now, I am not saying no. Those who are interested to take this knowledge, why should I say that I am not available? Those who are available, they will receive. Kindly go through this. Let our mind and intelligence track through the intelligent and the realization of such Mahatmas. Please read, hearing and see. The biggest recommendation of Raj Maharaj is Shravanam Kirtanam. The process of Shravan and Kirtan. Thank you very much. Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.